Hi, welcome to the Daily Bend, BEAU'D Not Broken. My name is Bo Babka, and I'm here with Lexi here in her backyard. Very informal interview, very informal show. Want to thank everybody joining for the first. We're on Periscope for the first time. We're going to be on Periscope, I think, for a long time. Those that are over on Facebook, I hope you'll grab a Periscope account. It runs off of your Twitter account. And obviously the show will be uploaded on YouTube, but it'll also be uploaded on the Facebook pages as well as we get this done. Anyway, BEAU'D Not Broken is why we're here. We're here to listen to the journeys and some of the challenges that people have gone through, and we're offering hope. We're offering to tell you that you're not alone in some of the things that you do or you encounter. And so with that, again, thank you for having us in your home. I mean, I know it's a little bit weird to have somebody in, but you guys have just been great. I mean, big smiles as we came in.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your journey. I guess the real important things that you think would help people. You have as long as you want. There's no, to tell your story, you have as long as you want.
Okay. Well, thank you first of all for giving me the chance to be on the show. And I really don't know where to start because I've been through so much, in such a short amount of time. I'm only 35 years old.
Right.
But I really have been through a lot, and I just,
You're in a place. Let's start with this. Yeah, we have to talk a little bit louder, I'm sure. Let's start with this. You're in a good place right now, or at least I think you are. When I talk to you on the phone, you're in a good place. What's going on in your life? You have great family, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've got absolutely 4 wonderful children. I just barely started my own business, and that is something I always dreamed of doing. And if it wasn't for my absolutely amazing, supportive husband, who is more than just a dream come true to me, I never would have done that. That's something that I dreamed of, and if it wasn't for him, I never would have done that.
Sure. Take us back to maybe how many years ago was it? Take us back to your lowest moment. One of your lowest moments.
I have to say one of my all-time lows was probably when I was about 28 years old, and at that time I was married to my very first ex-husband. Believe it or not, I weighed probably almost about 200 pounds, and yeah.
Okay, we'll believe that. No, sorry.
I was about twice the size. I could literally fit into just one leg of the pants that I used to wear, and I had my almost 8-year-old boy who was only 6 months old, and I went through a very traumatic experience where I was walking down my hallway and I had him in my arms, and all of a sudden I literally saw like my hallway dip down, my walls were caving in, my ceiling was caving in, and all of a sudden like my floor started melting, and I felt like everything just all of a sudden blacked out. I screamed then for my ex-husband to come and grab my son from my arms, and he was just playing video games, and he absolutely refused to. He said, "Why do I need to come grab him?" And I'm like, "Because I'm gonna pass out and he's in my arms." And he's like, "Oh, just lay him on the floor." And so I had no choice but to throw myself up against the wall. I slid down and I laid my baby off to one side, and I threw myself off to the other side thinking, okay, well, at least if I pass out, I'm not going to pass out on top of him. And mind you, I could not see anything. I couldn't even see my hands.
So were you having some type of seizure? Were you having some type of...
No? At that time, they didn't know. All I know is it scared the living
something to do with your health, definitely.
And I was only 28 years old.
Right.
I had just, given birth first words out of their mouth was, "We think you have multiple sclerosis." That's not something I expected.
At 28 years old.
Exactly.
Or at all.
It terrified me.
Right.
And they did some scans, and that's when all of a sudden they said, "Well, we have good news and bad news." And I'm like, wait, you have both. Time out. How can you have good news and bad news? And so I said to myself, well, since you have both, why don't you give me the good news first, kind of bring me up a little bit before you end up shooting me back down.
Sure.
And that's when they came and said, well, we don't see any lesions on your brain, so it's not multiple sclerosis. And then I said to myself, wait, they just said it's not MS. That's the good news, so what's the bad news? And then they said, well, we found an aneurysm on your artery, your carotid artery.
Right.
And then that's when it hit me. And I just said, wow, I've got a ticking time bomb in my head.
Right.
And that's when they said, at pretty much any moment, if it decides to explode, you're dead. And there's no warning for it, none at all. And that's when it really started sinking in. That's when I really started to take a good look at my life. It's kind of funny how all of a sudden
Did you think you were living your life outside of what you should have been living? You know, maybe was there some kind of religious thing going on, or just a spiritual thing? Or
no.
So you were 28. You were 28. Had a child, or had a couple.
Yeah.
Had a child. The husband at the time was not being very supportive. I take it.
No.
Okay.
No.
So then, help us understand continuing on of that journey. So this was kind of like the first, kind of a first wave of what was going on, or.
Oh yeah, and at that time, I mean, I'm far from being religious.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm completely agnostic. You know, I don't attend church. I don't, you know, believe in religion whatsoever. You know, and so at that time, that's what made me say, you know, I finally sat there and I took a good look at my two little boys right in front of me. And that's when I just sat there, and I remember so many days and so many nights sitting there thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, what am I doing? You know, why am I in this marriage? You know, why am I sitting here letting them, you know, see their dad constantly day after day treat me like this? You know, what is that teaching them?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what good is it? I'm like, they're seeing me be absolutely miserable. And that's when I was like, am I happy? You know, I'm like, if I was to die today, would I die happy? And that's what I kept telling myself over and over, and my answer was no. And I'm like, okay, well, why am I not happy? And my list was a mile long as to why I was not happy.
Right.
And all of it boiled down to the person I was with.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm like, why am I with him? And the only reason I could come up with is that I had his children. That was it. I was no longer in love with him.
Right.
I was no longer happy with him. I didn't deserve the way he treated me. And, I mean...
So was that the lowest of the lowest for you, or was there a lower moment than that?
And no, I have to say, for me, that was pretty low. Because there was worse moments, but those moments I was...
Did you leave him? I mean, in a short story, did you leave him and try and move on yourself?
I did. I did.
How did that go?
That one, it went pretty well. It did. You know, I ended up going up to him, and it all happened on a few days after 4th of July. The last straw was when he was very quick to disrespect me in front of everybody over, you know, another female, and he did it without thinking twice. And it was like it was second nature to him, and that's when I just said, okay, well, that's it. And I told him that I wanted to just separate because I wanted to give him the motivation to turn back into the man that I first fell in love with, because I was like, I want to show you what you're going to be missing, what you're going to be losing. And I'm like, I want you to first, to turn back into the man I first fell in love with. Because I'm like, that's the man I deserve. I'm like, the man that you are today, I don't know you, I don't like you, I don't deserve you, and I don't want you. And he just turned around and said, the man you're looking for is dead. You're never going to get him back. So let's just divorce. And I just said, okay, let's do it. And he said, that's it? He's like, you're not going to get mad, you're not going to get angry. And I said, you're not willing to fight for our marriage, so why should I? And he said, well, you got a good point. And that was that. Literally,
so we've kind of addressed, we've kind of addressed the whole faith issue. It seems like you had a tremendous amount of faith in yourself. When we talk about BEAU'D, not broken, it's not necessarily faith in a higher power or God or anything else, because you've told us how you are. But it really is how you derive the faith in yourself to build the courage to walk away from something, to walk away from a marriage, or to walk away from a job that just doesn't make you happy, or any number of things. How long did that process take? Was it a quick process of Okay, so that's where we get into the enduring part and the patience and all of that. Maybe just a little bit of an idea of how that went.
Yeah, that took quite a few months, because it was terrifying for me to do that. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I had no job. At that time, I almost had literally no job skills, or at least none that would, make
marketable to a living wage type job.
Exactly, or at least enough to support children.
Right.
2 children at that, and also make rent. So it was.
So did you always make rent? Did you always? Did you ever find yourself, without anywhere to stay, with kids?
I did, honestly. There was a point in time that, it was years later, that I did actually find myself in that situation.
Homeless?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've been homeless. There's a lot of people that have been homeless before, and that's not a good place to be in. It's probably, for me, it was probably the lowest. It's probably been the lowest of the low for me. But I didn't have my children with me.
Yeah.
So it was obviously, I can warrior out of that. But as a woman with children in a situation like that, that'd be pretty difficult, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was. And with that situation, I kind of a mistake, as I'll put it, moved me out to St. Louis, Missouri, for about 2 years. And that's when I did actually, coincidentally, officially get diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Oh, so there was a non-diagnosis, and then there was a diagnosis.
There was. I do now have 2 lesions on my brain, and I do have the right side of my body is currently numb. So that one's,
Wow.
Yeah, it is interesting that it took it a few years to finally rear its ugly head, but it finally did, and it's caused a lot more problems for me.
Right.
But it finally did, and at that time I did have an ex-husband who was not so supportive, and he was emotionally abusive as well, and so was his whole family. And it got so bad that I literally packed up my van with just nothing more than my kids, my clothes, threw us all in the minivan, and drove 1,300 miles, 28 hours, arrived here Christmas Eve with no place to stay, no home, no nothing, and just in a minivan, no job, no nothing.
Wow.
And I still don't know how I did it. I really just don't know how. All I knew is I had to leave there.
Right.
Because every single thing about out there, it was not good for me, it was not good for my kids, and I had to leave. I
So did you have you didn't have, do you have any support system here when you moved back?
I did.
To
I
help
had
you?
all of my family, all of my friends, like everything for me is out here.
Right.
But even when I contacted people from out here, they were just like, well, we don't have room for 3 kids. We have room for you, yes. We don't have room for 3 kids.
Right, right.
You know, and that was the most difficult thing.
Sure.
You know, but I had one of my, you know, best friends that she was just like, well, I don't know how we're going to do it, you know, but yeah, you know, we can cram you and 3 of your kids here.
Right.
You know, that's fine.
Well, and that's the kind of person we all want to be. Somebody that says, not sure how it's going to work out, but, you know, you got a place to stay for a little while.
Yeah. And so, you know, that kind of happened. And then, you know, I had to bounce from her house to somebody else's house.
Wow.
I didn't even have a bed to sleep in.
Right.
You know, my kids kind of did, you know, we kind of had to play dominoes for a while.
Right. So
Yeah.
how do you, so all that happened, and then you're diagnosed with MS, and so you've had it technically or officially for how long now?
Only 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
How do you deal with that on a daily basis? How do you deal with it?
It's hard. I've got my bad days and good days.
Mm-hmm.
My husband, he's been the most extreme wonderful help. You know, as soon as he, you know, got into a relationship with me,
Mm-hmm.
I, first of all, before, you know, he even planned a date with me, I turned around and just said, hey, by the way, before you even get involved with me, I have MS. You know, I'm like, not to chase you away.
Oh, really?
But I, you know, just kind of let him know that, you know, if you want to be with me, you're looking at a very difficult road.
Right.
You
Right.
know, because I didn't want him to, you know, get blindsided with it later.
Right.
You know, I wanted to let him know,
Right.
just say, you know, it's going to be difficult
Right.
to be with me, because I do have my bad days. You know, I have my days where I can't get out of bed. I don't have energy. It's not there. It's non-existent.
Right.
You know, my body may as well be a mountain, and I
Right.
can't move it. And then I have other days where, just recently, right before Christmas, I was graceful and I tripped going up my stairs and I fractured my wrist.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us do. We're
Yeah.
very graceful.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then even a few years back, I fell off my bed playing with my dog and even broke my thumb. And I didn't realize it until the day after, because it's on my numb side, and
So you're
I
trying.
didn't have a clue.
So you're trying to manage. You're trying to manage the MS.
Mhm.
You've definitely conquered a few years of really bad, not bad luck, but just bad situations.
Yeah.
What do you see? What do you see for your future? I mean, you obviously have a great husband, and I've met all your kids, and it looks like a fun household. What is it that keeps you going? Is it them? Is it knowing that, you know, especially with the MS, and what advice would you give people that are going through similar situations that you're going into, or you've been in? When I look at you, I look at an amazing amount of courage to be able to do what you've done so far. But I'll let you answer that. I think my question really is, what advice could you give to people, and where do you see yourself? How do you see yourself continuing to progress and do the things that you want to do?
Well, I guess I'm always going to fight, and I'm going to live my dreams. You know, no matter what curveballs life throws at me, I'm going to throw them right back. And, you know, I'm going to live life to the fullest.
Do you see, you know, when we talk about BEAU'D Not Broken, I talk about a balance of that faith and courage and endurance that gives us hope. What do you do? What do you do for yourself that keeps you kind of in that balance? You know, and you may have other things as well, but what kind of keeps you in that balance? Is it spending time alone? Is it exercising? Is it, is it a combination of things? I think people really are, I think a lot of people out there are looking for different ways to, to really be positive. You just sweat. You're not even sweating, but you ooze just a positive nature about you. So what is it that, what is it that keeps you in that balance?
I don't know. I guess for the most part, I don't often take myself too seriously. I let go and I have fun. I even get into either Nerf wars with my kids, or I get into marshmallow wars with my kids.
Right.
We have this thing called War Wednesdays, where I will dedicate a few bags of marshmallows and we will hide throughout the house and just sit there and have wars with each other.
Wow. Combat zone. That's fun. That's awesome.
Or even like sometimes, like if I'm making the cakes, and even though this kind of drives my husband.
You're a cake producer and decorator and all of that. Okay. Want to plug the business?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's called
Lexi Sinful Sweets.
Sinful Sweets. Okay.
Sinful Sweets.
All right.
Yes.
So that's been something that's been good for you. But kind of go back. You got your Wednesdays. You got what other? How about you? How about you personally? Are there things that do you stare at the wall for 15 minutes every morning, or what is it that helps you kind of ground and balance yourself?
I don't know. I mean, I love to go fly fishing. I just love being outdoors. Mm-hmm. Especially during the summers. I love camping.
Okay.
I love just being with my family. I really do. A lot of people love to, have their time away from everything and everyone. Not me.
Right.
I don't enjoy any of that. I love to just immerse myself with everybody and everything. I love to just take it in, and I love to do for other people. Mm-hmm. I love to give back. Mm-hmm. I love to do things for other people.
Well, you're doing
That's
that.
What makes me feel
you're
good.
Doing that right now, and I think, what advice would you have to a woman that's watching, even a man, but more or less a woman that's watching, that will watch, that is looking at your story. What would you tell someone that's in a pretty bad situation that might spur them to make change, might help them?
Don't ever be afraid of taking that step. Have the courage. You have to take it. Sure, it may be a blind leap of faith, if anything else, but you have to make the change. It has to be done.
Do you do it after a certain amount of time, or what really was the breaking point for you, or what was the point where you said, I'm done, I'm out of here, I have got to get out of here?
It's when I finally took, like I said, when my mortality was put into check. And when I finally just said, you know what, none of this is going to change, he's never going to change. And when I just said, I don't deserve any of this, I'm not a bad person, I'm not mean to him, I don't do anything wrong, I would bend over backwards for him, I keep his house clean, I do anything he wants, I'm like, how am I bad? What do I do to deserve being treated like this? What do I do to deserve, being disrespected, treated bad? What do I do to deserve being verbally abused day after day after day? I didn't.
How about oftentimes women, especially in that situation, have a really low self-esteem. Did you suffer from that? And
I did.
What helped you really bridge the gap to go, we've talked about it, I know you're probably answering the same question, but really you suffered from low self-esteem, which we all do to a certain extent. And I think that's what I wanted to get to, the raw to help people out, what was it that really clicked in you and helped you realize your value and to get out of something like that?
When I finally realized that he had no power over me, that it was all me, that it didn't matter what his opinion was of me, that he didn't matter. And that was it, because it was all me. What mattered was me.
You were then again controlling, you were going to be in control of yourself.
Yeah.
You were taking back the bridge,
Yeah,
if you were,
because
on the ship.
He could think whatever he wanted to. That was fine. I was never going to be able to change what he thought of me.
Mm-hmm.
Fine and dandy. Let him have his thoughts. That's all they were, was thoughts. You know, and I can't control him. But what I can control is me and what I think of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing that matters, is me and what I think of myself. And I deserve to be happy. And that is what I deserve. I don't deserve to be miserable. I don't deserve to be treated like trash. I deserve happiness. I deserve what I want, because what I want is just to be happy. I deserve to be treated the right way.
That's a pretty powerful statement. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's why we're doing these shows. That's why we're doing them, and especially in a situation like this. I don't want to take away from that, but I do want to ask you, any examples in your life that maybe helped you through all of this? An example, or I know you got your Marvels on, you got your Marvel comics on, and
Yes,
that's
I do.
awesome. Ready for BEAU'D Friday, but it's BEAU'D Monday, I guess. But is there anything, is there a movie that you ever saw that, like for me, I tell everybody it's Gladiator, from the great general to the slave, to the gladiator, to the guy that defied Caesar, was more popular, more loved than a Caesar. My life has been like that. Is there anything that comes to mind that, good book, a good movie to watch?
Not really. I mean, the only thing I have to say, my biggest heroes, both of them, were my grandma and Grandpa Taylor, and watching them and how those two interacted with each other and how they loved each other. They were my idols.
So looking back within your family and seeing
Yes.
great examples or good examples, I'm sure they have their problems, but I'm looking at their example of
Yes.
love and how to take care of people and how to serve people and those types of things.
Oh yeah, because my grandparents, both of them, they opened their doors to everybody, and they welcomed their doors to everybody. You were family, no matter who you were.
Right.
You were family.
Right.
They accepted and loved everybody.
Right.
They never shunned anybody. They never talked down to anybody. My grandpa always treated my grandma with love and respect. And my grandma was the same way. She was so sweet. She baked anything for anybody, and
it's always baking.
kinda
Baking is always, isn't
It
baking
is.
just wonderful?
And
So that's why you're doing what you're doing, probably.
That is.
So tell us a little bit about your business. Tell us, so when did you start it? Did you say, hey, I need to, I'm going to do something? Your husband works, I'm sure, or
Yes.
has his business.
You have a
or whatever?
website?
Yes, I do. I am on Facebook.
Okay.
It's Lexi Sinful Sweets.
Okay.
Is my Facebook page, and I do everything from birthday cakes, cookies. I mean, anything that is sweet, I make.
Right.
And
Peanut butter cups?
yes,
Oh, wow.
I
There we
do.
go.
Like I said, anything. And
How is business? Has it been growing? How long have you had it? How long have you been doing it?
I actually just started in October. That was
Okay.
when I first kind of officially opened up.
Unofficially, you've been doing it for a while.
Yes.
I imagine. Like
Yes.
most businesses, you do it for a while.
Yes, unofficially I have been doing it for quite some time. I've been decorating cakes for 14 years now. I do have to give credit to my little brother. He was the one who actually opened up that talent for me.
Wow.
That was one I never knew I
Did
had.
he have the talent, or it was just there? He encouraged you to do that.
Yeah, he's Down syndrome,
Oh.
and he suckered me into doing his birthday cake because he knows I will do anything for him.
That's cute. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And so at that, I was shocked that he asked me to do his birthday cake. I was like, I don't know how to decorate. I was like,
Right.
Really? So he got me into it, and ever since then,
So is it Lexi's Sinful Sweets? Lexys?
No, Lexi''S. Yep.
Sorry.
No, that's
I'm
okay.
going to throw it out there so people can go to it.
Good.
Awesome, thank
Good.
you. And and even if people come and ask me, hey, there's this recipe, can you make it for me? And I'll even look it up. And a big thing that I love to do is make everything from scratch. I don't like doing box stuff, and I don't like doing anything artificial.
So no Betty Crocker?
Well, I am Betty Crocker, just
okay.
better.
You are Lexi Crocker. No,
Yes.
you're just Lexi. That's right.
Exactly. And then another thing that I do like doing is also kind of giving back. Like if there's another, kid or a family that I hear of that can't provide a birthday cake to their own child, what I will do is I will provide a birthday cake at no cost. Because to me, no child should be without a birthday cake.
Are you listening? Are you listening to all this stuff? What an amazing woman. That's awesome. So you provide. Obviously, you want to make money, but you provide cakes to kids or people that don't have one.
Yeah, because
how amazing.
That's just what I feel. I mean, a birthday should be celebrated.
Yeah.
And regardless whether or not a family has money, that shouldn't take away from it, because a birthday is a big deal.
And you can only do so much because you still need to make some money. But
but
for you to be charitable that way. So if you hear about someone that's maybe down on their luck or whatever it is, you help them out.
Yes, absolutely, I will. It's of course wouldn't be an extravagant cake.
Sure.
But it certainly, I'll find out what they really like, and I will certainly make it for them.
Wow. Wow, what an extraordinary lady. I just want to thank you for letting us come. Every show just seems to get better and better. I mean, it's just better and better, and looking at the love that people have for helping people, and you have that, and talking about your troubles and your challenges. And might help somebody out there to maybe take control and bring their life back into balance or something like that. That's what we're trying to do here. So I really appreciate you coming on and letting us be a part of your little backyard for a little while.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to say? You've been great. Anything else you want to plug, or anything else you want to tell somebody out there that might be going through some real issues?
Well, I mean, I know it can be a very scary step, but it's one that you got to take, and trust me, you will never regret it. Just take it. It's good.
Great. I want to thank everybody for watching, and go to the Facebook page, go to YouTube in a little while, and we'll have the show on there. Again, if anybody's interested in coming on, please let me know. We are filling up, but that's a good thing, and we want to tell you I appreciate Christian Jensen helping out behind the scenes. He's the man. He's the other voice you hear, and it takes quite a bit to put these little things on, believe it or not. But it is a labor of love for me, and I know for him as well. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. We've got just a little promo with Mary Nichols tomorrow. We'll have Mary Nichols interview tomorrow. So take care, and we'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, it's all about the Bend.